Okay, so Linux 43. I don't remember if we stated. Yeah, we did last week. Because I decided when we get interesting numbers, we just have to go with them. We actually have everyone here today. So we're going to go largely back to basics. I have half of mine before we. I don't know if y'all want to try and do the distro roundup or not, but I'm sure you have thoughts on this, James, since you haven't been able to do PCV Mac as of late. And Jordan, I know you have thoughts on this, but I'm wondering if we should bring the CR in based on what you were saying before too. But before we decide on that, what are y'all's thoughts on the dang Xoom?
OMG expensive.
Okay, James?
There have actually been some hints that there's at least one UK provider that's supposed to be providing it Wi-Fi only for £4.99 pounds, euros. I think it's pounds.
Yeah, and that would actually be more than the 800 US, wouldn't it?
I think that's like $650.
Okay.
Maybe 700. I don't remember.
But yeah, I mean.
But still, yeah, it's a lot.
Well, and what's annoying about this is they're actually subsidizing this device less than they do other devices, which is just
Around 500 is apparently $800.
I think like what I said before, that they're testing.
Well, they're testing at the expense of everything. You know,
but as far as Flash, it's going to get Flash.
Yeah, it will get Flash 10.2 in the coming weeks.
I can understand it launching without 10.2, but why didn't it at least have 10.1 launch? Why wasn't that on there? It's like, well, we're going to upgrade it in a few weeks, but here's 10.1 so you can see Flash. You know, really?
Unless there is a security flaw in it, a big enough one that would justify removing it. But if you're doing that, you might as well remove it from all tabs and all phones that have it, and they haven't done that.
Yeah, I mean, basically right now the Xoom is the only Android device, or only modern Android device that can't do Flash. It's like, really? It's like,
hi. Maybe they're going to take a page from Apple and see what happens. Sorry, that was a bit of a dig, but
yeah, I know, but it's like, I mean. It loses on price, it loses on battery life, it loses on weight. You know, it's not getting the same subsidy other products are getting. I'm wondering also, somebody else brought this up, and it's a valid question, and I honestly don't know the answer to it. I'm wondering if y'all have. Given that this thing is shipping Wi-Fi locked, do we know if you discontinue your Verizon service, if like the last update to it won't be to relock the Wi-Fi?
From what I understand, you have to activate it for 1 month. And I think it's either when you do that activation, like when it leaves the store, it becomes Wi-Fi activated, or maybe at the end of the month. I can't remember which. I read a story about it, and that detail escapes me. It's been a week and a half ago.
Yeah, it should be when you leave the store.
Yeah.
Because if it's when the month's up, I know what's going to happen with that stuff. Oh well, I notice you haven't renewed your data plan yet. So, we're not going to unlock your Wi-Fi unless you renew your data plan. Well, that's not what my contract says. Oh no. See, this was provisional upon you renewing for an annual Wi-Fi plan, which you haven't done yet. So we're not inclined to do it. You know, I mean, where does that tug a yada switch stop? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the reason why.
Well, I mean, what would it? Other than that, what would be a valid reason for shipping it with Wi-Fi locked? Because they obviously don't want you to use their data, given the data plans they're offering for it. By heaven's sakes, don't use our data. But you can't use Wi-Fi because it's locked.
Okay, well, this is the thing. I've talked to a lot of people about this. I've talked to a lot of people who like Apple, people who like Android. And a lot of them have been saying to me that this was released kind of as an unfinished device. And so I think that's why it doesn't have the old version of Flash, and that's why it's waiting a few weeks to get the new versions of flash, because it was released a little bit unfinished and hastily, and that's why it doesn't contain that stuff.
Yeah,
That's what's kind of sad to me, is that this is intended to be the flagship honeycomb device,
and
time after time we keep seeing that it is an unfinished product.
Yeah, I would agree with the unfinished. You know what? If it wasn't ready now, you should have finished it and launched it on April 15th, when everybody has their nice tax return checks on the way and is ready to spend them. You know, I'm just saying.
Well, I think it's them wanting to be first that made them rush it out early, because it wouldn't take long since 3.0 was released for another manufacturer to get a device out.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, I think there were enough rumors circulating that the iPad 2 was coming that they knew they had to get something to market now.
Well, but okay, you know, regardless of what Apple does, whether you release before or after them, you know, the Apple fanboys are going to buy Apple. The way you get people not to follow the Apple fanboy flock is you release something that's a good product, not a, oh, we're out 2 weeks earlier. It's like.
But if you think about it, the iPad isn't 4G. The iPad doesn't have flash. Those are the two biggest concerns about the Xoom.
Well, and look at this. Yeah, like you said, the iPad doesn't have 4G. The iPad doesn't have flash. Oh wait, the Xoom doesn't have flash. Doesn't have 4G. That's like, it's not like it has these things yet. That's like,
but it has the configurability of Android and the Android advantage, in my opinion.
oh no, I agree with the Android advantage.
And it will be upgradable to 4G. It will have flash. It, you know, in the long term, the Xoom would be the better bet, in my opinion.
In the long term, yeah, but I want to say something about
Assuming
that.
It wasn't $800 friggin' dollars.
I want to say something about that 4G in a minute, but I want to hear what James was saying while we were talking over him too.
Sorry.
Well, I'm saying that a lot of people have been saying that, oh, the Xoom sucks, and it's only a few weeks, and they're going to get a lot of stuff. I don't agree that anyone can really say that it sucks yet, because we don't really know, what it's going to turn out to be like, because again, it's the opening first part, we don't really get a large user base to use it, and all the features aren't out, and a few weeks is not a long time, and I don't think that they're going to be waiting too long to release flash and stuff. Because, as far as I've known, Motorola is actually pretty good at releasing on time.
Well, and I would agree with that. And all of this goes back to, even if you want to buy the Xoom, there's three things.
I'm not ready to say,
There's three things, in my opinion, that need to happen before you consider buying a Xoom, even if you want to buy one. Thing one, they need to release the flash upgrade, which I agree with you is probably going to come in a few weeks. Thing two, I wouldn't buy it till after the 4G upgrade. And I say that because part of the terms of upgrading from the 3G version to the 4G version is you're not allowed to root your Android device. And why I don't think the average consumer is going to do that, the fact that it's literally prohibited, means no reason to buy the device at all until I can walk into a Verizon store and buy a 4G one. And thing three is the price does need to be adjusted a little. They need to at least be giving the same subsidy they are for non-Android devices, which they're not going to do until these other two things.
How much more is it than the iPad?
The comparable one is actually only about $75 more. The 32 versus 32 gig version with 3G. Because I think it's $729 versus $799.
Is only about $72 more, and it does have a bigger screen. It meets the iPad in many ways, the iPad 2, but in the ways that it beats it, the ways that it's different, the Xoom beats it. So it is a better device.
It's a better device, but until it's cooked, I would be really hesitant to sign something like a $80, basically a $1,200 a month bill, because that is what the Xoom comes with.
How much a month, Bill?
Excuse me, $1,200 a year. I'm sorry, I said $1,200 a month. $1,200 a year. Yeah, because it's the data plan you really want to buy for your Xoom is $80 a month. Because at least then you at least get your 10 gigs, so you can at least do some things before you, oh wait, I'm out of data for the month.
Well, Verizon still has quote-unquote unlimited, right?
Not for the Zoom.
Not for this.
Nope. The data plans for the Zoom start at $20 for a gig, and then they have an $80 one that's 10 gig. So they're at, yeah, basically they're given a larger subsidy to Apple, and they're given more favorable data plans to the Apple devices. Now, we don't know that for a fact yet. What's going to be the proof in the pudding is when they get the iPad 2. Are they going to be giving the same data plans they're giving the Zoom, or are they going to be offering, oh, well, there's this unmetered plan for the iPad? It's like, if they do...
You know what,
I guess we should rename it. I should rename the episode now, is that what you're saying?
I was looking for an article I'd read that had a chart comparing the iPad 2 versus the Zoom versus the new LG Slate and the Galaxy Tab. So
and there like you're saying, there is two key ways that the Zoom is hardware-wise a better device. It has a lot more memory, so you can do a lot more with it. I'm talking about in RAM. You know, it's a gig. It's a full gig. And it has a slightly better screen, especially for media consumption, because it is a 16:9. But you need to wait till if you want to Zoom, you need to wait till all this dust settles. I can't in good faith tell anybody to go buy a Zoom right now and hope it gets straightened out in the next few months. I mean, would you honestly make that recommendation right now, James?
No, I would tell them to wait until all the features are out. First of all, I wouldn't tell them to ever get a device in the first few weeks anyway. So
yeah.
You never want to do that, just as a general rule.
Yeah. Honestly, if you're looking to buy a tablet this year, my honest recommendation is doing two things. If you need it and you want it now, I need a tablet. Wait till end of May, beginning of summer. You know, give a few months, let everything straighten out, because there's also a lot more tablets coming out besides just the iPad. If you can, wait till September, because then all of the dust from all of them will settle, and you'll really know which one you want. You know, regardless of where you sit on the Android, iOS, WebOS, yada 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 thing, if you really can, wait till September, because there's just too much right now.
The third option, and it's not a particularly good one, it's one I've actually been exploring myself, is the possibility of going with one of these Chinese-made iPad knockoff Android 2.2 tablets, because there are several of them that are dual-core with halfway decent amount of RAM. $200.
Well,
But a lot of stuff on the line.
Here's what I'm honestly going to see happening if the Zoom doesn't get its act together. I'm going to see people selling those, and I'm going to see those winding up on eBay rooted with honeycomb on them. Because there's nothing to keep anyone from doing that.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Which one was going to be rooted?
All of those. I see people rooting them and sticking honeycomb on them, because they can probably run it.
That'd be pretty cool. If that's the case, I could pick one up for that, because $200 and some for... really low 200s for a dual-core tablet. I mean, even if it is kind of crappy build quality, put it in a halfway decent case and just be careful with it. Or pay $800.
Yeah. Now, like the Zoom isn't all bad. It can be overclocked. It is a sign, but I think the honest assessment we can make, it ain't cooked yet. Let it get cooked. And then decide whether or not it sucks. But right now, don't get it.
The other issue I keep coming across when I keep thinking about tablets is, why would I personally need one? And I honestly can't come up with a reason at this point.
Well, here this was something we talked about in a couple of. I forget if it was the not this show. It was either PC or I or stuff. But the real thing that's missing from these devices right now is the get work done thing. You know, if all the tools I use for like putting together an SEO estimate or things like that, if those were available for Android or iOS or other things, you know, that would be my perfect presentation pitch in a client's off device. You know, just, oh, hang on. Based on this, it would cost me that much to do this bit. You know, that would be very useful, but those applications don't really exist for this platform yet. They're probably coming. I'm sure in the next 2 to 3 years, Android will get them. So they'll all get them. But it's right now these are largely play devices. They're not get work done devices.
That actually brings up an interesting point. There was an app that I read about for the iPhone and the iPad. I think it may be just the iPad actually, that would use the remote X session on your Linux system and forward apps from your Linux-based system to your iPad.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to things like that because then, I phone the mothership here and I get work done remotely. But the other catch to that is bandwidth and data availability and so forth. Because why that's valuable to me, that's not worth $200 a month in data overage charges. That's not worth that much to me.
You know, what I'm seeing, this has nothing to do with tablets except for a similar kind of the difference in form factor. But what I see is useful for these tablets is you could set them on a table and you could do stuff with other people with them. A lot easier than a computer or desktop because people can be sitting all around. And this is what I'm thinking of. What would a tablet really be? The other UIs on. You know, everyone can see, everyone can be doing whatever. But it's interesting for that. What would be nice is the whole tables that have the whole touchscreen tables, and that would be good. But the same kind of thing applies to a tablet and similar portable little touchscreen.
Well, and the other thing I see being useful there, honestly, aside from the getting work done stuff, where I ultimately see these devices going, who's going to be in charge of them and what platform is going to be leading the way and yada yada, who the heck knows, whether or not they're going to work nice with each other or everybody's going to have the same. But where I ultimately see this going is group presentations and like kids in a classroom. The teacher puts together a test and goes, okay, pop quiz everybody, bing! All the kids, accept the pop quiz, fill it out. The teacher's master tablet, which is acting as the master for the session, they all answer their questions. She or he is getting live feedback. Oh, Billy over there is getting number 4 wrong. Mary over there is getting number 2 wrong. Instant feedback. Who doesn't know what? What's not so? That's where I see this stuff going. The same thing in conferences. The same thing they do this now in colleges actually, but they do it on the computers. There's no reason you can't do this in any lecture hall, any classroom, any boardroom. Who's familiar with the latest stuff on what's going on, or giving slideshow presentations over this, even over the net, somebody who's not even the same physical. Okay, there's no reason you can't do master pad, leading the session, pad, subscribing to I want to share these pictures with everybody in this group, everybody except the group, let's go. There's no reason they can't work that way. And then you don't have to crowd around the one tablet, you're just sharing the screens with each other in a client-server relation.
Crowding on the one tablet, that's for, I was meaning that in the sense of collaborating together, not in the sense of using one thing. I mean collaborating everyone.
Well, no, it's like the example with the kids would obviously be client-server, but like in the board meeting, it'd be very much collaboration, like a modern go-to-meeting session. For that though, the school, it would probably be best if the school would own all the tablets and kind of give them out for the test and then get them back or something like that, because kids taking the test on their own tablets could be problematic. I got news for you. You're thinking from the mentality of those prompters that go, okay, you can't take any pencils into the testing center because pencils are cheating. You can't have anything but a 2-line I got news for anybody with that mentality. If the kid's going to cheat, they're going to figure out a way to do it. That's...
Yeah, but there's a big difference from them being able to cheat by writing something on their pencil and being able to cheat by having the full access to Wikipedia.
Well, okay, but part of a link session like that, at your school, okay, this is how they did tests when I was in college and doing things. When those type of tests came up, the test was voided if you opened another window. If you tried to multitask or do anything, instantly the test was voided. This is a test of what you actually know, not can I Google it. If you even tried to open another browser session or tab or anything, the test closed out and said, this is your score, whatever you haven't answered is 0. Was the way they reacted.
Sure, that could be done if they own the systems, but I'm saying that if it's my system, if I own that tablet, and they're taking the test online or whatever, I am...
Well, but see, that's the thing. If it's your device, basically this would be an app. So the school is setting up the app, the app session. I think we just lost James. Yes! I love Skype!
By the way, I just got a notification. Motorola has a coupon code for $100 off the Motorola Xoom with no contract.
You can tell Motorola is really trying to fix this price thing.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet probably within the month, we will see it drop a couple of $100.
And that's really all it needs to do. It just needs to get a little bit cheaper, like 10-15% cheaper than an iPad, and then it's priced right. Because I realize the Xoom, hardware-wise, is a little bit more device. In the eyes of the consumer, they're comparable, and that's just how it needs to be treated. So the Motorola should be a little cheaper. Fun.
Yeah, it did take $100 off.
I love it when Skype does this. He's calling in over here, but I need him over there, and it's freaking... There we go. Okay. And the video returns. No, it's like if they'll just cut off a few hundred. I think honestly what Motorola was expecting was for Verizon to give the same $400 subsidy they give some other devices. I don't think they were counting on it just being $200 subsidy. So
and $200 on some carriers. I mean, the Galaxy Tab is still really expensive on certain carriers.
Yeah.
So I think T-Mobile has it down to like $250 now, but they're looking at Verizon's side, I think it's still $599.
Yeah, it is, and there's no reason to buy that tab whatsoever.
Not at that price.
No, that tab should be like a $199 device, especially since to get it with that subsidy, you have to sign a 2-year contract on these oh dear God plans. It's like no, $200, preferably $99 to be honest, because they're gonna make that money up over that contract, but at a max $200, not what they're trying to price that tab. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. Now, I mean, we're talking about a hypothetical where these devices will go, but I mean, as they stand now, honestly, I'm looking at the Xoom as a toy. It's a good media consumption device, and I think it'll get better at that. Anybody who's bashing on the Xoom for not having, okay, until he gets that fixed.